Whew, how you feeling, man?
I feel good. You?
I feel amazing. Thank you for the coffee. Cheers.
You're welcome. Drink
that
up.
coffee. Cheers. Let me. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and that mic can move around however
All right, cool.
you see fit. But what's up, guys? Welcome back to That's the Angle. This is officially the next season.
Right on.
Right? You're my first guest of the new season.
I'm the premiere episode.
Dude, you are the premiere episode.
I feel very special.
Dude, you should feel special. I mean, like, to be completely honest, I only did a second season because I just got kind of bored with the podcast for a month. Not bored because I don't like it, but bored because I had set all these like guest goals, like people I wanted to talk to, and I had done it. And then it got to a point where I was like, where do I go next? Like, what's the new direction of the podcast? Like all of the big guys I had at the beginning of the year in my journal, I got them all on, which is awesome, right?
Okay.
But like after I did that, I was like, I feel like what do I do now? Like I got them. So I was like, I want to do something that's meaningful to DC, meaningful to me, meaningful to the podcast. And as I've been doing the podcast, I've realized that like I've been putting a lot of spotlight on local creators and local artists, and really just I'm the only one giving people like a platform to have a good conversation about themselves and like what they do. And I didn't know what I was doing. Other people were telling me what I was doing, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And it got to a point I'm like, I wanna double down on the arts. Like I want to talk to more actual artists, like more people who are in DC exhibiting, doing big things, full-time, part-time, doesn't matter, just as long as you're doing great work and you're interesting. And I was like, I think that's a new direction, because if I do that, like it feels pretty like unlimited.
Yeah.
Like
many artists here.
And when I look at the podcast landscape, I don't see many artist-driven podcasts.
No.
Right?
Not that many.
Like I don't see many like that talk to artists and creators and local creators. So I kind of felt like that was like the new stream I would go into and just sort of like lean into that. And now I'm, it's perfect because you're here.
Sweet. I'm glad to be here.
Right?
I was going to thank you actually for giving us this platform, because I didn't see that many people like you interviewing artists, local artists like me, but doing it in the way that you're doing it. This kind of really informal, loose conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more sterile, clinical, kind of technical podcasts out there for artists that I've listened to, but they're different.
And they're really weird. Like they're clinical. That's a good way to put it. It's too clinical and technical. Like it's question, answer. And it's so just like out of touch with the vibe of the person. I don't know if you've gotten that. Like I've had other artists come on and they're like, oh, so what are the questions so I can be prepared? I'm like, I mean, it's a conversation, dude. Like this isn't a 20-minute interview. Like we're going to sit down and talk and figure out who the hell Scojo is.
Yeah.
Just be careful with that mic. Try to keep it like how I'm keeping it. And you can pull the whole thing. Yeah, I want you to be comfortable. You can pull the whole thing.
Don't make me beatbox in here.
Yeah, what you got? Let me hear.
Oh, dude, I'm terrible.
But
I can do a little bit. I do a little bit. It annoys my wife. I can do that. It's terrible.
That was the rim shot.
Is that beatboxing? Yeah, rim shot.
But let me intro. What's up, guys? Welcome back to That's the Angle. Thank you for listening to the opening fun talk. I am here with Scojo, also the same guy whose art is all on the walls in the studio, but you can't see it right now. But he's just coming off like a major exhibition in the same spot.
Yeah, my first solo. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's where we met.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that was a great night.
That was crazy. It was just, I think, it was nice to have all my people here, but there was that group show across the hall.
Yeah.
And they brought their A game. They brought a ton of people here too. So there was a lot of foot traffic here. It was a great opportunity to get the work out there and to meet tons of other artists.
Yeah, I thought the show across the hallway was actually good. Like I thought it was
solid.
Good for everything. Like as opposed to just one art show, it was kind of like a cross promotion event. I liked it.
Yeah, it was nice.
Personally, I thought it was cool.
And we got to share my wife's amazing cake pops and brownies with the greater DC area arts community.
That woman can bake.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So it was your first solo exhibition. Like how? Like just take me through like what you were thinking that day. Like going into that exhibition. Like what was going through your mind?
Oh gosh, I mean, I was just wondering who's going to show up. I really just was trying to focus on the kind of the really important things I needed to do, like make sure I've got my cards, make sure everything is hung well, There was a lot of just running around getting the food and the beer. But I was just excited to meet people and to share the art.
Mm-hmm.
And because I know Amir brings a lot of people here. So I was just excited. It was just all it was. A lot of excitement.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like how many other things you have to do for your own art show.
Yeah.
You know, it's like not just Art Knowles, it's promoting and catering and all this other stuff.
Bringing all the stuff and all the stuff.
It's like so many more stresses that you probably don't want. Oops. Oh, there goes your notes.
Oh, don't need them.
You don't need them. Fuck them, dude. I'm gonna carry this one. Don't worry. I thought that was a really good night. Like I came for that night just for your exhibition. I had no idea that was going on. Well, I did like an hour before, and that's why I ended up vlogging it.
Right.
Then I was like, oh, this is going to be good, you know?
But when you got here and you were on your little promo, you're like, oh my God, this place is crazy. I've never seen it like this. Is that really the most you've ever seen?
Yeah, seriously. I've never seen so many hipsters, art scene goers, event goers in this area and like out on the street and stuff like ever.
It was quite the mix too, because I brought my parents and their people.
I mean, but you got to bring the friends. You know what I'm saying?
We had a mix of people.
Like it was definitely a great night. It was definitely, you had like an older audience.
Yeah, and a younger. I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. Hi, girls. And they brought their friends too. And they've done a lot of art with me actually. My daughter's friends would come over, and I do a lot of these like drip paintings in my garage, just like practicing this fun technique. If you mix paint with this stuff called Floetrol, you can get it at Home Depot. It's badass. It's cool. It makes it so the paint doesn't actually mix. So red and yellow make red and yellow swirls, not orange. So what you do is you take all these little Dixie cups, you pour some like house paint in there, and you put about 40% of the Floetrol in there. And then you take all the cups and you put them all into one cup. And then I do them on these little 3.5 by 3.5 like wood blocks. Mm-hmm. You take that wood block, you take that Dixie cup, you put the wood block on top of it like this, turn it over, let it up, and that's just like kaleidoscope lava paint flowing over. And you pick it up and kind of move it around.
Wait, so each Dixie cup will be a different color?
Yeah, you fill all the Dixie cups with different colors first because you're mixing them with the Floetrol.
Oh, then you put the Floetrol in first before.
Then you take all the colors that have the Floetrol in them, combine them into one cup.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'll do it with you. It's fun.
That'd be wild.
You kind of give it a little tiny stir. With the kids, I tell them like take the popsicle stick and like write the first letter of your name. You don't want to.
Some parents
send like crazy stuff. Kaleidoscope, and then you give it a quick little stir and you turn it over, and the kids love it. I mean, they get their gloves on. It's like gooey and tactile, and it's fun. It's like art lava party.
What? And so you just take that and you pour it onto the canvas or whatever you.
Yeah. Oh, so I would take these and I would pour resin on top of them, and it gets really, really shiny like this art, and give it to them. But what I love about that process is I never waste the paint. So even the wasted paint that's poured on there on the side that goes around the edges, I'll take it and pour it on a palette and maybe take my hands and scrape into it or something, and then I'll take a picture of that. So I've got pictures of all these colors of paint and different kind of textures of paint, and then I use them for like backgrounds of these.
Oh,
so that's kind of part of the process. Like I always start with real paint, a real quick paint study, take a picture of it, bring it into Photoshop, and then start compositing that way and stuff.
Really? So that's how you begin like your creative like process of making things is you...
Yeah, always real. Always real.
Oh, so you take like the colors you make... What were you going to say?
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I'm so curious like about this process now.
So like for these, I would start with something real, so a little study, and I'm not worried about the colors really at all. I really just want to get like, reflections from the paint and just like mountains of paint texture, like cake frosting, like really want to build it up. And then I'll take a picture of that and I'll bring that into the computer, but I'll also bring in photos of like other kind of real textures. I always start with like a highly textural ground. So I'll like go on these little walks and I'll find like graffiti and posters that are peeling off the walls. Like my favorite thing to find is like these posters that are peeling off the walls, and I take pictures of it. My wife loves it when I stop every 10 feet when we're walking somewhere.
Oh, this is interesting.
Every 10 feet, I'm not kidding you, right? Every 10 feet. But it's for art, right? So that's good.
It's for art.
So I take these pictures. I've got paint texture, and I've got like posters and all these other kind of urban detritus, graffiti stuff falling apart. And then I bring that into Photoshop, and I make just kind of a ground of texture. So paint and and papers. And then I'll start composing the image from there. So if it's laser cats, I paint in some laser cats, put in laser cats, put in mountains and everything, paint in the lasers. And that's kind of the first part. Then I take it into this program called Corel Painter. Sometimes I use Procreate, which is cool too. And I'll use that kind of base as my kind of tracing paper. So I will just repaint pixel by pixel using different, digital painting devices. And then I'll have that, and I will export it like a high resolution JPEG, send it to Canada because they do amazing giclées for like half the price.
Amazing what?
States. Giclées.
What's a giclée?
A giclée is a archival print on archival paper. So it's a fancy French term for anything that's printed archivally. Because it's got to be archival if you want to get into a museum. Actually, you can't have like laser copies and stuff because the light will change them.
And so they take that digital thing that you've made and they turn it back into something tangible.
Yep, they send me a beautiful giclée piece of paper, and I get that in the mail, and I look at it, and I'm so excited, and then I rip it to pieces. I rip that beautiful piece of paper into pieces, and I glue it to these cradled wood frames. And then I do more real on top of that. So then I'll go acrylic, spray paint, paint pen, watercolor, Caran d'Ache crayons, ballpoint pen,
anything,
marker, everything.
Whoa, dude!
Gold resin shards. That's what that shiny stuff is.
So you're telling me that underneath these paintings that if you guys were listening, we're in the studio where his exhibition is still up. If you haven't caught that, but you're telling me that underneath all of this painting and resin that I see here is what you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's a mix of.
Holy shit!
It's like a digital analog sandwich.
Dude, that's crazy because it starts
real, digital.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, it's like real, digital. Dude, that's so insane.
Coated with some resin at the end. That's
Whoa. Dude,
that's like my mayonnaise.
That's an interesting process. How did you come in? How did you stumble into that process? Like, it's so non-traditional and it's so like unique and abstract. Like, how did you come up with that method?
That's a good question. So actually, I left out one part of the process. So
secret sauce.
On piece, this is the secret sauce actually. So while I'm doing all of the acrylic stuff, I also like to paint on these large rolls of transparencies. Stuff called Duralar. It's super awesome. It's really, really thick transparency. So I'll roll out like 10 feet at a time.
Whoa.
And I won't really worry about what I'm painting, the colors or anything. I'll just pick one color, and then I will just kind of make brush strokes every kind of way I can. Every mark making tool that I know, I'll take. I'll sand away stuff. I'll drip paint. I'll pour. I'll scrape. But I'm really just taking all these different tools and making as many different marks as I can, like harsh angles, curvy ones, splotchy ones. And then I take that and I cut that up and I put that on top of the digital paintings as well with all of the acrylic.
So you put that on top of the thing that you got printed. What was the fancy word that you used?
Giclée.
So you put that transparency on top of these giclée and then paint.
Little tiny pieces. Every little brush stroke I kind of cut out. My kids actually love helping me do that. They wake up in the morning like, Daddy, can we help you cut?
These are some crazy collages you got going on. It's so cool that literally I'm looking at this grand 5x10 wooden amazing panel that you did. Like as you're talking about that,
pretty big.
Dude, like as you're talking about that, I'm sitting here, I'm just like, whoa! I would never have guessed. I would have thought it was just like a piece of wood that you just poured some paint on and then did your thing and then did some resin. But I would never have guessed the process was that.
Yeah. The transparency thing was it was kind of something I brought late into the game because I needed to paint that way because I was turning into a zombie.
Before we touch on that though,
just leave that hanging out there.
How did you come that process? Like all those steps. Like I just want to flesh that one out real quick.
Yeah.
How did you arrive at like all of these methods and then be like, oh, this is my final piece?
I've always been kind of a mixed media type of artist. Like I never did like just painting. Like even if I did some watercolor, I'd incorporate colored pencil and stuff and gouache and things. So I think I do like mixing it all up. At art school, I learned a lot of different techniques. My agency days, I started to learn a lot more digital stuff and digital painting. So I didn't want to really quit that altogether. But I, wanted to get back into painting and having that kind of tactile quality with the work again.
Do you find that
kind of got
do you find that too much, like,
confused.
or if it's all digital, like, do you find that you don't like it as much, or like you have to have that tactileness?
Yeah, I didn't want all digital. I didn't, I've been doing some digital stuff a lot recently, and it's different when you sit at the computer and just with your Wacom tablet, and I need to feel the paint.
Dude, I'm with you on that.
I can't just do that. I mean, if it's for a job and a gig and I just need to do a quick little painting, Procreate or Illustrator or whatever, that's fine. Usually passing it on in a digital format anyway, so it's good to have it digital. But no, I can't give up one or the other. I had to mix them, and so
I feel you on that, because
happened.
As a photographer, I find myself going back more towards analog, getting into film and this tangible thing, and it just feels way more natural and satisfying than having the whole process be digital. And then it in a way, like, I feel like it feels more valuable when it's like this tangible thing at some point, like whether it's the scanned negatives I have and I can say it's 3 of 3, but when it was all digital, it's like I could print 1,000 of these, like with this paintings, like you can only get one original, which is amazing, but you can have copies, of course. But
if I wanted to make prints of them, sure, yeah, but none of these would look the same. Like if I would have take that original Giclée that I got and tried to do another one, sure, some elements would look the same, but it'd be more of like a funky cousin, like because of the painting and all the stuff that happens after that and the cutting up of transparencies. All the brush strokes are going to be different. A lot of the layers will be different. So they'll share some compositional elements, but I don't want to do that. I feel like I want to make these originals. So I want to keep that separate, using the digital stuff as just a collage element to infuse in there.
Yeah, as the process,
Yeah.
And there's no way a print. You're right. The print wouldn't look good because there's so much depth to these images. Like,
oh, thank you.
Like there really is. Like it's nuts. And actually, when I was looking at it on your website, I felt like I could see more of it because we're in such a small space, like this big one behind you. Like I could like step back and be like, whoa, this is really what's going on. Holy shit.
Yeah. No, thank you.
It's kind of nuts. Do you think that scale plays into art at all? Like I've noticed that people value art that's like more scale, like a bigger scale in a way. Like people for some, like I find myself doing it too. Like you seem to like appreciate it more when it's bigger.
I don't know. I've found that it's what the art is, what the composition is. I mean, I've seen some really beautiful, tiny little things that kind of force you to walk up to it, and they're more intimate, right? So they already have this kind of personal feeling, like you're the only one in the room looking at it because you're the only one right in front of this little 4x4 thing, and so there's that kind of connection, which is nice, as opposed to a giant painting where the whole room is seeing at once, and it's a little different, but yeah, I mean, scale does have that kind of dramatic effect, and that's why I kind of always wanted to do something big, and that's why I did this huge 96-incher, because I'd never done something that big and monumental. So yeah, there's something about it, and maybe people value it because it's big and it looks like it took more time.
I don't know. Maybe that's what it is, because I swear there's something weird that like scale does to the human like psychology, where you're just sort of more appreciative, or you have more respect for it, or there's something about the scale just makes you.
But it raises it up a little bit, because it's almost like larger than life, right? This little person is now 10 feet tall. Then you're like, whoa, it's a different kind of presence to it. So
like if you took, like if let's say you were an architect and you designed the most amazing castle, if you made it 5x5, people would probably still think, yo, it's amazing. But if you actually made that a castle, then it's like, whoa, the scale of it was so much more.
It takes more time. People just think it takes more time, I guess.
I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know.
It's just like a weird thought I've had recently as I've been going to more museums and looking at things. Like, just seems like people value things more, are more intrigued by the bigger, because then you could get closer to it and sort of just inspect it and think, oh, what did he do?
Oh, maybe it has something to do with, like, we're looking at things on this little phone now. Like, all these images are these tiny little things. When we go into a gallery and this monumental, huge thing, it has more impact.
That's maybe a great point.
And we are looking at a lot of art on our phones, a lot of
Dude, that pisses me off.
Entertainment is on our pockets now. So
I'm so pissed off that all of my photos have to like be cropped to go on Instagram so people can see this tiny version of it and they can't appreciate it. Like, it's so annoying.
If you want it on stories, it has to be like really long and weird. You just want to crop it.
Dude, it kills me.
It's fun.
I mean, it gets more exposure.
Hashtag first world problems.
I don't even care about that. I'm going to go ahead and get on the high horse with that one. But
more coffee.
Yeah, right. But something I thought was really interesting was this zombie comment, which when I met you, I thought was just extremely fascinating. And I don't even know how to approach the subject, but what I do know is that like, and it sounds so cliche, but in a way, art saved your life.
Kind of. I don't know if it was that dramatic. Like,
super dramatic and like cliche, right?
But it definitely took it out of turmoil and chaos, and there's a lot of pain and fatigue in there. So
from what I understand and what I read on the bio of your exhibition Overload, all the paintings are sitting in front of us. What it is you had cognitive problems. Your legs barely worked.
Yeah,
and you were essentially classifying yourself as a zombie.
I was turning into a zombie. So I actually started painting about 1.5 years ago because of this. Because I was like, this is crazy. This is going on. Long story short, I have a neuropathy in my legs that has been massively affecting my sleep. So, but I didn't know that was going on. So 1.5 years ago, it was undiagnosed. My wife kind of knew something was up. She kind of thought her husband was getting stupider. Like I really couldn't hold information.
Really?
Because when you're sleeping, it's crazy. Sleep is so powerful, as you know.
Yeah.
But when you're sleeping, you're rejuvenating yourself. You're building up your immune system, but you're also like purging all this excess information and these like kind of useless memories that you have of the day, right? All this kind of garbage that you don't need, and then your brain kind of takes some of it and interprets it or pulls it into your brains, right? The stuff that they think is important.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that. If you don't have sleep to purge that stuff and to rebuild, you can have trouble cognitively. So I wasn't retaining information. It was really, really hard to multitask.
Wait, so what is neuropathy? Like
neuropathy is nerve damage.
And so what was that doing to you while you were sleeping?
So the nerve damage in my legs was causing me to spasm every 90 seconds. We got a sleep study to figure this out. So my calf was spasming every 90 seconds, not allowing me to get past REM 1 sleep. And REM 1 is nothing. I mean, you got to get to REM, I think 3 or 4 is where you're dreaming and actually like really, really deep sleep. So I would wake up in the morning and think, what time is it? Is it like midnight or 2? I'm exhausted. I got to go to bed. And my wife would be like, no, we got to go to work. I'm like, oh no. So I would slug through my job, and thank goodness I'm good at what I do, because my D+, C- game kind of got me through. But
you were dealing with this every night, and were you literally waking up every 90 seconds?
It didn't wake me up at all. That's the thing. Like, I was sleeping, but not getting any deep sleep.
Oh, so
it wasn't like affecting my sleep like I was in insomnia. A lot of people think that. It was just not letting me get to deep sleep. So I had chronic fatigue, and it was also creating some severe restless leg syndrome. So I had these like pins and needles in my feet. You know when you sit in the toilet too long?
Yeah, and your legs
and you
go
get
to
up
sleep?
and your legs go to sleep, and you like that first walk or two, that first step is like, oh, so painful, but then you walk it off. It's like that, except you can't walk it off. Whoa. It sucks. And so once it starts kind of tingling, it doesn't go away. It just kind of builds and builds and builds. So at first it was happening a little bit at night, and I didn't have the crazy tiredness going on. But it got worse and worse, and then I felt more fatigued. And we thought, I'm so tired, let's get a sleep study done. And thank goodness they got that sleep study done. And they found what it is.
Okay.
And so I'm totally fine now.
How'd you beat it?
I'm on this medication called gabapentin. That's just like an anticonvulsant. So it keeps my stuff from not spasming at night.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, and I wake up now and I feel like the $6 million man.
No
I'm like,
way.
So I mean, when you haven't technically slept in, I don't know, maybe a dozen years.
Is that how long it's affecting you?
It started around 2003, well, gosh, maybe even more than that, 15 years ago. But it was a slow
And you didn't even
thing.
like...
It was so subtle, and that was the crazy part. Because it was so subtle, I didn't notice it. It wasn't just like one day.
You just thought it was normal. Like, oh,
it was like,
yeah.
wow, I'm having trouble finding words. I'm chewing on my words. I'm like sleeping all the time. I'm like looking for a nap all the time.
It's fascinating that how important like your subconscious sleep is. It's so wild to me that literally this inside of you that can't get to deep sleep, that you have no control over, couldn't rest, and because of that, it affects you so much in your real life.
Everything.
That's wild.
Yeah, everything. It wasn't fun. But so it was happening for all these years, and my sleep doctor told us something was called sleep debt. So
I've heard of that.
I would basically just pass out for a couple days. One time it happened for I think 6 weeks.
You slept
where
6
slept.
weeks.
So imagine your 8 hours of sleep. All right. You owe 8 hours of sleep to the sleep mafia, right? But you're only getting one because your calf is spasming. So you wake up in the morning, the mafia's like, yo, where's my 8 hours?
Yeah.
Like, I got one. They're like, well, we want those 7 hours back. And we're going to take them anytime we want. We're going to take them when you're at your daughter's dance recital.
And just fall asleep.
Or when you're working or presenting something.
Do you see, I didn't know if sleep debt was a real thing, but I guess it is. Like I've always heard that it was like a myth. Like a sleep debt was like a weird sort of...
It's kind of a new science from what I'm told.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out, but there are a lot of people like me who've experienced it.
So you would just fall asleep at the worst
times. I had this
times.
weird episodic narcolepsy thing going on because I had a dozen years of not sleeping. Wow. So it was crazy. And while this was going on, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is chaotic. This is nuts. I need some humor. I need levity.
Yeah.
So that's when laser cats came into my life. I started painting again because I haven't painted in so long and I missed it. And so I infused this kind of new painting on transparencies at night when my legs were hurting as much technique in there because I'm up and I'm moving. And so there's a little bit of positive distraction too, just not letting myself think about a little bit of pain and just kind of meditating on my breath, meditating on the brush strokes. And so I brought that into the process. That's been huge. It's been like, this is like art therapy for me now.
It's interesting that you were able to do
but
that. It's interesting that you were able to do that while dealing with all of like, you know, how you said you were mentally feeling, like you were able to start painting again.
Yeah. You know, it was pretty amazing actually.
Right?
But,
like to find that extra energy for that, it seems so bizarre.
Yeah. I don't know how I did that. That's pretty amazing. I think just when you're in that state and you're trying to solve this kind of riddle, I think you kind of just like are grasping for anything and trying to reach for stuff that made sense. And art has always made sense to me. And kind of being silly and having fun and humor is such a part of my life that I've kind of infused that into the art as well. So,
but before the neural problems and you started painting while doing that, were you painting before then, or actively pursuing art before then, or was it that whole event that kind of like was the catharsis for you wanting to say, I'm going to become a full-time artist?
I was a creative director, illustrator, designer. So I went to art school for illustration.
Okay.
I actually thought I was going to be a children's book illustrator.
Oh, wow.
But the internet kind of happened and changed my whole career trajectory in a different direction. And I got into web design, graphic design, art direction, creative direction. And my whole career has been mostly at advertising agencies.
Oh.
But I always infuse art. I always infuse illustration. So like I did all of Marriott's icons for like their website, mobile apps. So the mobile app, there's ways to bring in my illustration stuff into my day job. But
so you were still an artist technically, like you were still like a full-time artist, but just not for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are times where I'd be designing a website and they would say like, oh, we want this yoga lady on the beach for the master. I'm like, really? It's so original. But I would say, okay, how about a yoga lady on the beach, but painted in like impressionist style? Like, ooh, different now. So I'd bring in like some of the fine art there. So I do some of the art. I bring in the fine art into my advertising stuff, but it wasn't until the zombie stuff happened that I thought, I've been making images for other people my whole life, working for the man.
Yeah.
And I felt like I want to try this. I want to do this for myself. I did it right when I graduated, just for a little bit, but I don't really count that. I started a cooperative art gallery in my hometown of Durham. North Carolina.
Oh, nice. You're up there, North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah. So I went there, started a cooperative art gallery, had like a kind of a solo show, but at that time I didn't know what I was doing. I think I was just trying to bang out art to sell. I wasn't really thinking about the concept or anything, and it was really just like production. And then I got into graphic design and web design, changed the whole career track.
Wow.
But yeah, this fine art for myself is a new thing.
So I guess you started painting with the whole neurology thing, and then, like you said, you had the thought to go do it for yourself. Like, what was that thought process? Like, what was going through your mind? Like, did you have like it seemed like an epiphany kind of moment where you're like...
There were a bunch that happened. There was the chronic pain that was going on. There were a bunch of things that happened. There was one time I ran into a friend in New York who I didn't even know was like a really successful artist. And I didn't recognize him, and that scared the crap out of me because
really? Why?
It's like, well, I'm really good with faces. It's like one of my talents. I will like look at someone and go like, oh, they're, I remember them, but I could say, oh, they're 50% this and 50% that. It was always like a good comedy. It was like a little fun little game of mine. So always good with faces, and I had no idea who he was. Whoa. And that kind of hit me like, wow, I have no short-term memory. What is going on? And my friend was like, yo, that's Jerome. He's kicking it. He's like on the cover of Arts in America, and Steven Spielberg has bought his work, and he's amazing. And he is amazing. He's great. But it kind of rocked me. I thought like, man, I didn't even try that. And
it was like the combination of
so many things.
Your memory, and then
it wasn't just that.
It's like he took the path that you would have rather been on or something. It's like,
yeah, it made me think, art, wow.
It's possible.
But that was just one of the things along the way. And then as this built, I thought, gosh, I really, really need to try that because I miss it. I miss it a lot. And laser cats are funny. They're just so funny.
Yeah,
they make me smile.
It's so interesting because I do find that in most people's lives, from people I've talked to and interviewed, is that there always tends to be a moment where they have not just one, it can be like a series of moments, but where they start to realize like, whoa, like, what am I really doing? Like, what's really going on here? What do I really want? Like, and you kind of have this self-reflection, and then you come out of it, hopefully being like, let me try it. Let me bet on myself. Because from what I've noticed, it's that the world rewards people who bet on themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you got to put yourself out there too. That was actually, that's actually how I got this show.
Really?
Because I just put myself out there. I was kind of like vulnerable in a way. So I started painting again, and I was thinking, I gotta see what this DC art scene's all about. Like, I'm painting for myself now, but what's out there? Let's meet some artists. Let's go to some shows. So I went to one show. I went to this show at the Fridge, which is an awesome place.
Oh yeah, I love that venue. Cool spot.
I was like, I think it was Broken something. I always get the name wrong, but it was Absurdly Well and Esteban Whiteside, really talented dudes.
Absurdly Well's pretty big, isn't he? I've seen that name everywhere.
He's getting real big. So it was a really cool show. I was there for like, a while, just like really dissecting all the art and getting into it, standing in front of these pieces for a while because I'm there by myself. I'm not talking to anyone. And I'm about to leave, and I think, dude, you came here to like meet people and learn about the art scene. Like, you did a little bit of it. You got a taste of it, but talk to one person. So I scan the room, and I see this one girl that has lots of tattoos. She looks nice, and she's working merch, so she has to talk to me. Right?
Perfect.
So I go over there, and I start talking to her. Hi, Decoy. Thank you. She's amazing. So I start talking to this girl, Decoy, and she tells me about the Fridge, tells me a little about the scene, and she said, you gotta talk to Keon. He's awesome. He's this really good artist. He knows a lot of people. He does murals. He's right over there. So she introduced me to Keon. Keon is awesome. Hey, Keon. Keon actually bought a piece back there. He bought that, the one with the emoji over the...
Wow.
Yeah, he bought that. So Keon's awesome. I talked to him for a while, and he tagged that piece that he actually bought with Amir. He tagged Homme DC, and Amir wrote back that night, I think like super dope or something, or cool, something that Amir would say. And I'm like, okay, cool. This guy likes my stuff. This is great. And then I think it was that was a Friday, and then Monday he DM'd me, Amir, and we start talking. He's like, yo. I say, yo. He goes, I want to talk to you about a solo show. I was like, just like that.
Wow.
So I came in and we met and offered me the show. So you got to put yourself out there, man. If you go somewhere, if you go to a party, don't be a wallflower. Talk to one person. If you go to an art gallery, talk to people. They want to talk about art. There are people that want to talk to. What's the worst thing that can happen?
And if anything,
leave me alone.
Art shows are the best place to talk to people. Like if you and someone else are at an art show together, like that means that you care about art. You have something in common that you can definitely talk about.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not a bar where someone thinks you're hitting on them because you talk to them.
Exactly.
You know, it's a friendly, conducive conversation environment. People want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But it's so nuts that just by putting yourself out there, it's such a simple phrase, but you did it, and look where we are now. This wouldn't have happened if
I wouldn't
you
be
didn't.
here. I wouldn't know you.
That, right? Like, and that's why I love like just life in general, is because the tiniest decisions can have the biggest impact.
Yes.
On your future, and you just will never know otherwise. But because you push yourself a little bit, that one moment, now you know this person, and they connect you with this person and this person, and now you did an exhibition where you sold almost all your shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's nuts. Yeah, you got to put yourself out there,
dude. That's the biggest thing.
You have to.
It's the biggest thing, man.
Life will go by. You'll miss opportunities, and you'll never know.
Dang.
So, do it, man. Empower yourself.
Yeah. Oh, motivational podcast.
Yeah, do it.
So how are you feeling now? I mean, you just had it. Like, what are you thinking going forward? Like from here, like where are you going from here now?
Keep doing it. Keep making work. I've got a couple pieces that I've started. A couple themes I'm kind of gonna keep running with. There's this pros and cons of technology theme that I'm playing with. There's a lot of pop culture elements I'm throwing in there. So I started doing a piece called Chewbacca's, and it's like it's Chewbacca, but it's like it's kind of like, you know, Bacchus, like an old Bacchus, like an orgy, like old school Renaissance, like old school orgy type thing. It's kind of gonna be like that, but it's like a technological orgy with pop culture heroes and animals in there. So it's kind of like a fun animal tech fest. So Chewbacca's gonna have like virtual reality helmet on, and
so you're already working towards.
Geico lizard will be there, like Spuds McKenzie and a G-string. You know, it's fun. I'm having fun. I'm not doing art
pop culture
to be very serious. I'm having fun, but I mean, some of my themes are kind of hinting at, you know, the augmentation of the organic and deep stuff like that. I mean, pros and cons of technology.
Your process itself is
I'm having fun with it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, as long as you're having fun with it, shit.
Yeah.
It's ultimate. All that matters.
So yeah, next, just keep making the art. Try to get another show. I'd love to get into a group show. That's been I just don't know how to get in. I feel like I see these shows, and I never knew that there was a place to submit. So I got to figure out some of these group shows. Who do I connect with that are maybe curating these? Because I think they get curated first.
We should talk after this about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say too much, but I'm trying to start like an art events company, and I'm trying to do art shows. I know, right? And I think I found a model that's successful for everyone.
The Cheshire?
Yeah.
That's working.
Dude, their business model is so impressive. Like what they make possible for artists is so sick, and it's one of my favorite venues.
Yeah, it's great.
Dude,
did you go to the one about was it like Alaska? Adeline Hyman did these
with
photos.
The glaciers?
Yeah,
dude, I wanted to. I don't know what I was doing that night.
There's like a 40-foot satellite photo stitched together of these glaciers. So this beautiful dancer that danced on it.
That'd been so beautiful.
Adeline's work was amazing. Yeah,
I'm going on
that's
Friday.
a great venue.
I think it's Friday or Saturday. They're having
the Lowbrow.
Yeah, the Lowbrow.
I'm going there.
Dude, hell yeah, man. I'll see you there, dude.
Yeah, and they always have like themed drinks too that are like based on it. It's like it's an experience, which is cool.
But that's what we want in DC. Like, we want more of that. And since I've been in here, they've kind of started popping up more. But like, the Cheshire's really helped bringing it to fruition in different venues. Like, it makes it more viable. And if you ask me, I'd rather go to something like that any day of the week than a bar or some
Absolutely.
club.
Yeah. And what No Kings does, I mean, they're incredible.
They're the OGs.
Yeah. I mean,
They're the
like,
OGs. Yeah.
one day I want to meet them.
I'll have them on
One
the show
day.
soon.
I want to meet those guys.
In 2020, they're going to be on the show. Guaranteed.
Sweet. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
What have your thoughts been of DC's art scene now that you've kind of started to get your feet wet in it?
Man,
What's your perspective on it?
It's really great.
Yeah.
There's really good talent here. Very accessible. Like, I feel like, I start going to these shows and meeting people, and I'm starting to see the same people, and that feels really nice. And they're coming up and greeting me, and it just feels accessible. It feels like making connections is something that can happen. Networking's pretty easy. People are excited to see new art. There's like this kind of, there's the political kind of underbelly that's bubbling, so you get some really good thought-provoking work out there. But there's a lot. I mean, I went to Baltimore and I thought that was pretty cool. And but DC, Baltimore, there's a lot going on in this area.
I think DC definitely has a more professional and better art scene than Baltimore. Just because I hate Baltimore, also.
I don't know much about it, but I did find that there was some good artists there.
No, they definitely have some good artists. I'm just being a hater, but like, bang for your buck. Like,
but we're talking DC.
But to live as an artist, Baltimore, like, you can get a great loft for dirt cheap.
I have noticed that.
Yeah, with great natural light. You can have an amazing like art loft for nothing, for like what I pay for a room in DC. But you also have not a scene like we have, and like you said, like, it's a smaller community than you think it is. And,
yes.
And there's a couple big players who it's nice to know, and you need to know each other. But
it feels attainable.
It feels
really
very
does.
approachable.
It doesn't feel like anything's out of hand.
It doesn't feel like New York in a way, like how I think New York would feel.
Well, I've talked to different. I mean, you could go to a different gallery every day for a very, very long time and probably not go to the same gallery and not see the same people at all. That's what my friends have said. It makes sense. I mean, New York's huge. Art scene's huge. So, yeah, no, this feels like a nice place to kind of dig in and get my feet wet. And from what I hear, people like the work and they're receptive to it. So I feel like I'm in a good place for it.
Well, your work is good, though. Your work isn't the kind of work that a non-art person looks at and is confused by. Like, your work is very, like, approachable for everyone.
Why do you think that is?
Colors.
The pretty colors.
It's the pretty colors in the pop culture references.
Yeah, lots of emojis.
Yeah. I can only imagine people are thinking about what these artworks look like.
Artscojo.com.
Yeah. Oh, damn, you just plugged? Damn, the fat plug. We should have done that in the beginning or something. I should probably plug in the beginning. But no, like, your art is definitely on the side where if you're really into art, you'd be like, yo, dope. But it's also on the side where someone has no idea. It's just some Becky from suburban Virginia. They'd be like, that looks so...
I know Becky.
They'd be like, that looks so cool. Becky wants to buy your art.
She's good people.
But no, DC's art scene is... I think it's on the come up, and I think as more people like you and like me try to do things in the scene and make things happen and be a part of events and network and be receptive to people, I get the vibe that DC's art scene is very much collaborative and not competition. Like, I feel like New York would feel.
Totally. I don't get that sense at all.
Yeah.
People really want to hook you up with other people.
They really do.
And not like they want something in return. I don't think Keon wanted anything in return for tagging me. That was totally out of the kindness of his heart. And it was really awesome. So, yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
That's, I think that's really important too, is that sharing and tagging the artist in artwork on socials, that's so important.
Yeah.
As artists, I don't expect people to buy my actual stuff on the walls, but I'm sure you're all taking photos of it. Y'all better tag me because I could have been a client or a gallery or something,
Well, you help each other when you tag, right? Because then you're seeing each other's audience, right? And then you're kind of like checking each other out. And, what's this guy about? Yeah. See ya.
Yeah.
And that's how you build.
Dude, 100%.
Ways.
Yeah. Looking at my notes here, we've covered.
How you doing on the coffee?
It's
Any
good.
more?
It's cold. So
Yeah, sorry about that.
so you know. Besides,
There's a warmer one in the car if you'd like it.
bro, I guarantee you that coffee is not warm.
My goal actually is to break records because I know that Chris Pyrate and you had you broke a record, podcast for piss breaks, didn't you?
Oh.
Yeah, didn't he break the record?
Dude,
like
he
two
took
or three
he
or
took
four?
Like 3 pisses on that podcast.
I'm gonna break that record.
No.
Coffee.
I think we're actually gonna wrap up here soon before you can take a piss. So, Scojo. I mean,
Scojo, that's the name they call me. I have many names.
Scojo.
Many nicknames.
How'd you get that name?
All right, so Scojo is my Star Wars name, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's not that exciting. You know, you take a little bit of your last name until you hit a vowel, Scott, SCO, and a little bit of your first name until you hit a vowel.
That's how you make
J-O. I'm not going to say my real name.
Yeah, don't.
I could be John. You don't know. It's Josh. It's fine. Joe. And so it's this guy, Randy Mackey. Props to Randy. Started calling me Scojo in my ad agency days in New York, and he just wouldn't stop. He was relentless. Scojo! So everyone started calling me Scojo. It just kind of stuck in my agency world. And then when I started working at Marriott, they needed a name for me too. There was like a Josh. There were 2 Joshes on my team, I think, or Josh and Scott. And they said, you need another name. You can't have those. And I said, what about Scojo? And it was a total joke. I was like, it's my Star Wars name. I'm like, all right, Scojo. So like the VPs call me Scojo. Like Scojo's going to present now and everything. So it just kind of stuck with my colleagues.
Professional setting. This is Scojo.
Professional settings. That's what it stuck by. But and so I kind of went with it. But I've had nicknames my whole life.
I remember you telling me that the day I met you. I was like, what?
Tons. I wrote them all down for you.
No way. Is that really what's on that? Wow.
You can call me any of these.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
Yo, you came so prepared.
Well, I thought, it might be a topic of conversation.
Wait, you've been called all of these names at some point in your life?
That's not all of them. I had to stop.
Why do people keep changing your name? Okay, guys, if you're watching or listening, I have a list. I'm just going to say some of them. Scooter, Heech, Blasnadal.
Blasnadal. Yeah.
Oshkosh, Bigosh, Mishmash, Pish, Posh, Squish, Squash, Gosh, Josh, Slosh.
High school.
Chaikan, Lao, Chicken Lao, Monkey.
Chaikan.
Yeah. DJ Spinace.
Oh, you pronounced it right.
I saw the marking above the E, baby.
Wow.
Tina Del Figlio, Juice Cakes Malone. Okay, how'd you get Juice Cakes Malone?
Total ridiculous name of a children's book character that I made when I was in 7th grade. He was this big Juice Cakes Malone. He's a mafia type, and he was the bad guy. And I was walking around the halls going, "I'm Juice Cakes." People started calling me Juice Cakes.
That's great, dude. Well, man, I feel like I've said everything I need to say. Do you have anything else? Anything left you want to leave with the audience? Impart some wisdom or any words of, I don't know, anything before we wrap up here?
Let's see. Go see art. Get yourself out there. Go talk to someone that makes you uncomfortable. I would say.
How about this? What would you say to the person? Because I think you're in an interesting position where you're older, late 30s, early 40s, and you took a leap that I think a lot of people probably think about at your age, if not earlier, and that can be extremely stressful. So perhaps maybe someone listening to this is looking at you and they're saying, "Wow, he did it. Maybe I can do it." What do you have to say to that guy?
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people kind of have their little midlife crisis and get a sports car. Mm-hmm. I got an art studio, so that was fine. So yeah, I mean, it's never too late. You're right. But do what makes you happy too. If it's not hurting anyone, do what brings you joy. And if you can promulgate that, if you could put it out publicly, even better. And look for the levity and chaos in life, because life is crazy, but look for those little nuggets of humor, because they're important. And do what you love, and keep meeting people.
Hell yeah, man.
And watch Bruce.
Hell yeah.
The Bruce Allen.
Big facts. Dude, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
That's it. That's the angle. Peace out, guys.
Right on.
All right. That was amazing.
Was that good?
That was fun.
Cool.